Hello, everyone. Welcome for a impromptu Wednesday night live. Um, come in, join us. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. And I have a special guest with me tonight. This has been a little while in the making, just a little bit. I am joined here with Michael. So Michael has many amazing facets to him. He's a galactic channel. He does light language. I was going to call you a light language. I can't even say it. Linguistus, but that's not a word. I just made up.
Ah,
um,
that was cool.
and so you do group work. You're a teacher. Work with
Sure.
ascended energies. um, Soul Magic Collective is where people can find you, and I will put the details in the description box below after we've finished, and also for those who want to find you on Instagram. So
Sure,
Michael,
sure.
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invite, and thank you to. It's really nice to connect with you. I've seen your posts on Instagram for quite some years, and
Likewise, we have been following each
always
other for
really
years.
sort of on point. So it really feels nice to sort of connect and share some space with you today. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So just to give an overview on tonight's cosmic conversation, I think first of all, I want to get to know you a little bit better and the work that you do, and also share that with the people watching.
Sure.
But also, I I'm curious to get to know your take on the energetic perspective and where we're at. We've just moved past Lionsgate,
Yes.
and making interesting posts. And as I said to you before we started recording, I said, I'm a little tapped out at the moment, and I'm kind of liking that. I'm in my hermit bubble.
Yeah.
And I was chatting with a friend earlier today, and I said, you know what? I don't know if there's any light workers on the on the planet right now who really have a good grasp of what's going on. And then I saw your post, and I was like, oh, he knows what's going on.
Um, well, maybe a little, but but so I guess my post today, I mean, I always feel very activated and aligned with the Lionsgate. My astrology, I've got a Leo moon, and I always feel ever since I started channeling light language, I was really drawn to that date, the 88 Lionsgate, as a day to sort of gather in ritual and support bringing energies through for the collective. So I feel out of the whole year, this feels like I'm really sort of on at this time. And I just feel that, there was the Aquarian full moon 2 weeks prior, which was pretty hideous, really, and bringing up a lot of deep stuff in the collective and personally for clearing around that sort of that sort of really deep trauma stuff around the right to belong as a starseed, the right to be here, to feel safe, to share your gifts, all that sort of really core, I guess, light worker base chakra and sacral chakra stuff. I felt was really was really on, um, and so I felt, and then we've got another Aquarian full moon in 2 weeks, about the 22nd. I'm also doing a group. I'll do a small group online then as well. But it's sort of sandwiched in the middle is the new moon, the Lionsgate. And I feel like this was a really amplified time. I know we were actually going to do the live this time last week, and I
Yeah.
missed it. I'm really not up to it because I was going through a big clearing, and I won't describe what was going on, but it was a big clearing, and but quite a lot of energy released, and quite emotional and stuff. So I felt like that, and I always experience that. Before I do group work, I do a lot of energetic prep, even though the group itself might only be an hour or 2 hours. It's that lead up clearing and processing for the group and for the energy before you get to the day. So
I can
I feel
totally
like
relate to that. Yeah.
we're really, really clearing a lot in the collective right now. We're really, I feel like This is just my opinion. So, I feel
Yeah.
free to sort of take it or leave it, and take what you feel resonates and leave what you don't. I guess what I've noticed is that when these high influxes come in, it sort of challenges us, especially if you're working at a multidimensional level. So if you're aware of other timelines or other avatars or expressions of self, if that at these times when the veils are quite thin, a lot of crossover happens energetically, I feel. Yeah. And it's sometimes really hard to know what is collective, what is actually going to come, like in the collective, in the narratives that are playing out of the day, versus
Well
what is
put.
versus what is actually our old timeline trauma coming up and been projected onto the current narrative. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've noticed lately, I've been trying to pull myself out of thinking it's about this, it's about this happening next, it's about that happening at this timeline, and boom, 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 boom. And so now I'm kind of just saying, no, this is a really high light influx right now. That's it. It's massively in. It's coming in. It's shaking things up. It's clearing, and it's kind of spinning the chakras faster and faster. I think that's producing emotional release, anxiety. Now you could pin that onto lockdown, COVID, whatever you want to say, but I feel it could be happening anyway, because this highlight is coming in and transforming our light bodies. And so I feel at the moment that is happening on a very accelerated rate. What I noticed in the Lionsgate workshop, which was Sunday, was a lot of deep release in the channel around Egypt, Syrian energies. Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Oh, I've got everything you're saying. I was like, oh yeah.
And also like this deeper kind of context around the balancing of the masculine and the feminine energies within, regardless of whether you're a male or a female, blah, 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 or your sexuality or whatever. It's sort of, it just feels like there's a real calling for, like if we can't really expect, my take is you can't really expect to unite externally in the world if you're not united within your parts of yourself. So I feel like my work is, I do my personal work around trying to hopefully look at my shadow and work on those antagonistic parts and everything that we all have, and that helps. I feel like it shift my light body, shift my chakra system, and so that when I do channel light language and bring through cosmic frequencies, it's kind of I guess at the purity of my soul as I can be at the time, so that I can help release, clear, and open others to really to who they are. Not that they're going to be like me or channel light language. Sometimes they maybe do, but just to really open to whatever their soul is waiting to open for them. So what I've been feeling that before Lionsgate and now is just a lot of golden light coming in, like really beautiful golden light. Yeah. Really strongly, Yeah, I saw that. So really strongly kind of helping transmute the field and helping transmute narratives even, transmute shadow, the collective of personal shadow stuff. So I feel like having said, and also I feel like we're in this really deep karmic cleanse. Yeah. So as we're moving into this kind of Aquarian age, which is kind of just sort of opening up, I feel like it's asking us to kind of delete karma of all these other timelines so that we can step forward free, And I know there's a lot of talk about freedom and rights and all that stuff right now, which I can understand totally with what's going on in the world. And also I think it's about inner freedom, like freeing ourselves from our ancestral trauma, both off planet and on planet, you know? Yeah, so at the
Oh,
moment, I think that's just really amped up in a nutshell.
I'm so glad you gave that rundown, because I could kind of sit on the receiving end and go, yeah, 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 yeah. So
Ah,
what has triggered for me, as you've said that, just to
yeah.
share some kind of my own personal processing insights, was that this bleed through, this timeline bleed through is
Mm,
totally, I have
mm,
these, even though I'm kind of temporarily offline,
mm.
I have these sort of moments where I'll be walking from room to room, or, we're washing the dishes, and then this kind of like, and that was what was coming through. I think a day yesterday, it was like this energetic bleed through from previous lifetimes.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I'll give you an example of that, because I think people like examples.
Please. Yeah.
Okay, so I woke up 3 days ago with the most horrendous, weirdest pain. Actually, it was right after Lionsgate. It was the day after. Yeah,
Wow, wow. Mm-mm.
left thigh, hip. If I
Mm.
didn't, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that I had done some sort of horrendous injury, and there should have been a massive bruise there, or like a scar. Some
Mm,
sort of,
mm.
like,
Oh my
it
gosh.
was like
Really painful.
really,
Wow.
and it persisted all day, and I couldn't make head nor tail of it.
Yes.
And my inner voice said, it's okay, it's an essential symptom, it'll go away. And my rule of thumb is 3 days, it'll
Yeah,
come
yeah,
and go, right? That's beyond 3 days, then you've got to, kind of investigate a little more.
yeah. For sure.
And I think that was what the bleed through was, because within 3 days, it's completely disappeared today.
Wow.
Completely gone. I went from wanting to amputate my leg
Oh God.
to, being pain free, basically overnight. And the only explanation that I got intuitively, that's past life bleed through of a timeline closing.
Wow, wow. Yeah, because it was interesting at the group I did on this on the Lionsgate. There was so mainly in the group it was I sort of do some channeling in English, just like we're talking now, but also light language, which we maybe talk about later. But there was so much because of I feel like the high energy coming in and the veil so thin. There was so much physical stuff going on for people, both in the group and afterwards, like the day after or whatever. It was sort of like a lot of tinnitus, the ringing in the
Oh,
ears,
yeah,
you
yep.
know? Jaw stuff was really on. There was there was quite a lot of releasing during the hour that we did the workshop in, and but it was really accelerated. I'd never had a group where people were feeling so much so quickly and expressing, oh my God, I've got this, da, da, da. But again, moving through quite quickly. And I think in that context, it was, I was working with Lyran frequencies, Syrian frequencies, and Egyptian stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and a bit of divine feminine stuff too. But it felt, yeah, it was a really high vibe night, like super high vibe. And I think I was speaking to you before we started. The week before, I was just garbage. I was like stomach bug, lower chakras cleaning out. And it was like, whoa, I've never had a cleanse this big for a while. But it as per usual, it came good by the Lionsgate, So, but I feel that is true. I feel like we're really, the veils are thinning, and so we're getting a lot of bleed throughs, of different times. I feel like we're cleaning stuff up at a multidimensional level so that we can move into this new age, this new earth, free of the karma of the past,
Yeah, well said, really well put. I'm glad you brought up the Syrian and the Lyran, because that certainly come through really strong for me on Lionsgate. It was the first Lionsgate in a very long time that I didn't do a transmission and that I actually attended something to receive for myself.
Beautiful.
So
What happen for you in there? Was it good word.
Everything that you just summarized.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
So pretty much, yeah, the divine feminine is like reclaiming a lot of feminine aspects of myself, galactic and
Yeah.
Egyptian, and um, it kind of all happening down in inner earth.
But and it's interesting. You can't, as you talk, you sort of do that motion, and it really did feel like the heart, the high heart, the throat. It was I noticed subsequently the last couple of days since sort of just gently having a bit of quiet time and integrating the event through my own energy body, a lot of strength coming in, you know, like really a lot of strength coming in. I think that's why, because there's so much, I guess, shifting on the earth plane, I feel like there's a lot more presence energetically coming in to gift us strength and resilience, you know, so that we can move forward as these pillars of light to support the collective as it's going through this kind of topsy-turvy phase, you know.
Yeah.
So it feels like so that's what I feel about the Leo new moon, the 8/8 moving into this. I feel like this time, because it's so Leo focused, heart focused, there's a lot of light coming in. I think that it could result in both really beautiful heart openings, but also quite explosive stuff, because, you know, people's heart clearings happening. So it could bring up anger, rage, grief, all of that really deep heart stuff, and some of it due to the current scenario, and some of it really like old multidimensional trauma, if you will, you know.
I think I'm in that basket at the moment.
Which is kind of like another level of trauma, hey?
It's a whole new.
This is like just when you thought you were done, you know, another level.
Well, I'll tell you where I went in that, and I think Syrian energy has been pretty consistent for me, kind of leading into it. That I always see is that really beautiful light blue color for me, Syrian energies. But then in the actual ceremony that I was in, there was a lot of forgiving and clearing happening, and I kind of went through that process, and spontaneously I came into this space.
Wow.
And everything was gold.
Wow. Oh, cool.
And then there was these feline beings, and there were lions everywhere.
Wow.
And I was looking around, and everything was just basically in gold. And I was looking around, I'm like, I'm in Lyra right now.
Wow.
Well, to me, that's what it felt like.
No, it feels really divine, like as you talk about it.
I was just like looking around going, wow. And then literally chaos broke out.
Oh, as in that timeline, you mean? Or,
Yeah. And I think that's something I've been working on for most part of this year, where I had been guided to travel my soul. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands. I can't help it. I was guided to travel through my soul journey from the original point of conception through all my galactic lineage, lifetimes to Earth, to then. And the thing that was highlighted was go back to Lyra, because that is where the first trauma occurred. And so I was like, oh, I'm here. Okay, let's do some clearing.
Good on you. I mean, it feels, and I guess and it feels like that Holocaust situation, hey? So it's, which I felt is all those situations are really been mirrored by, you know, our current narrative of the day. So I feel like it is, and I think that's part of the divine plan, if you want to go divine plan on this scenario, is that we've been invited to re-experience certain experiences in this earthly plane that mirror these other timelines, so that we can release them from our density here. And so there feels like there's a little bit of light language. I don't know if you want me to do that here, or
well, I noticed, because I don't speak light language, but my hand, and I've noticed the whole time I'm talking, my hands are just going there. So I mean, I'm open to whatever. That'd be great if it does want to come through.
It's only that's just because it feels like it's related to that Lyran Holocaust that we talked about, and it feels like it's. I feel like it's just for everybody who's listening, really, or that may remember or connect with, or not remember, but have some energy around that in their field. It feels like it's a high heart space, and it's kind of all soul trauma. I feel that is kind of being ignited to release through this process. So I guess channeling the Lyran beings, the Lyran beings, and I would say that for people that don't, I'll just quickly say light language in a 101 light language. Basically, I know most people probably know what it is on this channel, but basically, it sounds like.
Oh, sorry. No, I said there may be some people that don't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Oh, so basically, light language is. It sounds a bit like back in the day at church, they would have called it talking in tongues. It kind of sounds a bit like gobbledygook. It's not a language that you would say was earthly. Yeah. If people laugh when I do it, I don't mind. I don't take offense because it sounds weird. It sounds strange. When I started channeling, I didn't have a clue what it was. We can talk a bit about that if you want in a bit. But basically, it's frequency. So all you have to do when I speak it is let your just let your mind, let your body, let your consciousness, however you perceive, let it just wash over you. You may feel some movement in your energy body. You may feel some emotion. You may feel nothing at all. And all of that's fine and perfect because we all kind of sense and resonate with different modalities. So I'm not attached to everybody having the same experience or having an experience. But basically, I just want to work with this area of the high heart because this is just something that came up in that group as well. And I feel like it's just around the Lyran Holocaust. And so just tuning into the high heart space in your body, where you are sitting at home, just feeling into that area and just noticing the area. And we're just inviting these energies to come through and say, any part of my soul that was in the Lyran Holocaust, that kind of, saw really, really devastating events, where, a very pure beings were infiltrated by a different agenda being, and it kind of twisted their consciousness, and it was a little too late, and it all kind of went pear-shaped, So we just want to release the grief of that, and anything that might be getting mirrored by the current scenario. Okay.
I've already started.
And if emotion comes up, that's all good, Gishkatutote abarki andaraki patatato andatiki patokotera parkatatika totokatika parkashka botorakanarkar. Ia kotototika patokoteka shkatukota pagadarkanka. Shiriborga mandaraka shiriboriki or gantaborgandarki. Shimborika brakandarakatika parikashkandarki. Ebarkar, etikatatote baton dondorko. Dondori vandanania. So everybody just taking a couple of breaths. And they want to remind us that we have not been abandoned. That we are not going to repeat the traumas of Lyra. We are not. And that what is coming up is painful and uncomfortable for many of us, but it will be ultimately freeing. And a little bit of moisture is very good. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Wow, that was unexpected. I actually haven't spoken that out loud to anyone, so that kind of caught me off guard. I didn't realize
Oh,
how.
sorry, my love.
No, that was just unexpected for me. I thought, that was powerful. I felt like something completely dislodged out of my high heart just then.
Good. So I'll just yabber on a bit and you can settle. And so I just say that, that's what I kind of do. That's my work. I kind of bring in energies, and the groups that I do is a combination of speaking in English, what I feel, and I know some light language channels know every little syllable what it means. I don't. I get a general sense of this is what this piece is for. And sometimes it's very specific around the physical body, chakra system, upgrades, light body, cell body, to help with the physical ascension. Sometimes it's more got a context of multidimensionality, like we've just done around bringing in certain pieces of our past to integrate and clear anything that may be impeding us from speaking more fully into the world, our truth, as a spiritual being this life. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing your gift with us and that explanation. I really do appreciate that.
No worries, my love.
So I know you have a very interesting story, and
okay.
if we can kind of go there, because
Sure.
I kind of have 3 questions in my mind. And
yeah, go for it.
The first is, like, I would like you to share how you came about speaking light language, because I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Okay.
You've already explained what light language is for you, so I mean, if you want to go into depth about that, but you don't have to. And also,
sure, of course.
Another question that's come up, because I was in a session today with a client, and we were talking about, she speaks light language but has never spoken it beyond her children hearing it. And I hear this all the time. This is not just a limited story. And her question to me was like, how do you go about the awkwardness of that expression and sharing that? So they're kind of the 3 questions. But first, let's start off with your
cool.
personal introduction to light language.
Okay, so I never really thought I'd be doing this stuff. Yeah, I didn't really ever expect to be channeling or to be speaking in light language, or even knowing what light language was. I guess I came over to Australia from the UK in about 96 as a scientist, a microbiologist, a medical.
I did not know that about you.
So I studied medical microbiology at uni in England, and I spent the first 10 years of, I guess, my career here in Sydney, when I was living in Sydney, working in immunology in the Red Cross in Sydney. But it was never where my heart was. But it was interesting, because even back then I was working with transplant immunology. So it was matching up at a cellular level for bone marrow transplants. Yeah. So I was working with cells in Petri dishes and all that sort of science geeky stuff. Yeah. So that's sort of the first kind of, I guess, foray into the body and the cell, and working at a body level and not just the mind, the sort of integration of the body and so then during that process of working there, I started doing personal development workshops, and they included body work. So they included kind of cathartic body work and breath work stuff that help to open up the body and get you grounded and get you in your body and get you to really process like wounds and trauma, you know, from the past. And that sort of opened me up so much. It was a little bit much, to be honest. Sometimes I kind of got a bit too open. So I ended up deciding to do some therapy work just to kind of integrate what had happened, and working on trauma and working with the body as well as verbally in counseling. So that was what you would call somatic psychotherapy. So that is kind of an interface between the body and the mind. So with clients, you would be working like a regular therapist, a regular counselor, but you can also work with tracking of sensations and bringing people into their body if they're not quite present in their body, or hands-on body work, which is very energetic, very much around the nervous system and calming an agitated nervous system and processing trauma. So all that sort of stuff that's really helpful and very energetic in nature as well. So I decided I'd end up to train in that modality because I just found I got so much out of it. And that during that training, which was around 2002 to 2004, the bodywork component, I started to speak when I was touching people, that the sound would come out a little. But 2002, 2004, there wasn't really any Facebook, and there wasn't really any channeling light language that I knew of. So, and I wasn't as grounded. I think I needed to do my own personal work. So spirit kind of directed me away from it. And I was studying, also studying Tibetan Buddhism at the time. So at the same time as I think that's partly why it opened up, because, you know, the Tibetan Buddhist deity practices really are about you embodying and channeling the deity, you know, through their practice. So it's very tantric. And I think that sort of led me into opening my channel without knowing I was opening my channel. So, but I sort of stayed with the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism and the therapeutic model. So I was a bit more traditional in my kind of viewpoint. And then I guess around 2012, 13, I was already doing sort of bodywork workshops in Sydney. So I already was doing small group work. But I went to I found a couple of light language channels online through Facebook groups. They just, you know, when the time's right, the time's right. So they popped into my field, and I ended up doing a retreat with one lady, Judy Satori, who's been around for many, many years doing light language, probably about 20 years doing light language. And I was lucky to attend an event of hers in Sydney, and it gave me confidence, and it gave me a bit of a framework. And the light language channel in different ways. Some people sound like myself, which is sort of chit-chatty. Some people sound more sing-songy, or a combination of both. And if you channel different sort of galactics, the range of the voice can change, yeah? So the frequency. So I feel with my, I guess, dialect, if you will, I'm very Palladian, very Syrian kind of energies. And so my tones is very similar to Judy. So it kind of gave me some sort of reassurance and some sort of almost like a bit of a framework to say I can go and take this out and use it. So I think if you are a speaker of light language, I think everybody goes through their own personal process with it. I think, again, I started to do it very gently. Once I worked with the retreat, I sort of connected with a couple of people off the retreat and did some practice one-on-ones with them. So that gave me that it felt safe. It's important when you start doing it to feel safe, that you're not going to be judged or laughed at, you know, that you feel safe to sort of practice it with people that are open to it. It's really good to find energetically sensitive people that can give you really good feedback, you know what I mean? So that you can sort of, because that's what, as the scientist,
all the time to people who are starting up. I'm like, practice on me, because I will tell you every little inch of every, yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, sorry, continue. Totally agree.
So totally find people that are really sensitive and in tune, you know, so that they can give you good feedback. Because as a scientist, I needed to do my own research. Yeah, I needed to do my own research and prove to myself that this stuff was useful. Or otherwise, why would I bother, you know? So I started doing that in sort of with a couple of people, just privately in my therapy practice, and getting sort of some practice in it and confidence in it. I started to do a tiny little bit in the group work. So I'd still focus on somatic body work mostly. And then I do a little bit of channeling here and there around your heart chakra or base chakra or something. But over time, I kind of got more confident, and the sort of the work flipped, and so mainly I do the light language work now and the channeling in that way. But I feel for new people, because you know, particularly I feel with light language channels, I know this can be a light worker starseed kind of theme in general, that there's been so many lives where we've had failed missions or been burnt or you know, cast out, whatever you want to call it, you know. But I feel like if a lot of the light language channels have had many lifetimes galactically, where they have had their, you know, they could have had their vocal cords cut, they could have had some really serious trauma to the voice because of the frequencies they were bringing through. So I feel like there's a legitimate fear of speaking it, not just for the fear of ridicule in this life, because it's different. And I think being a gay man growing up and feeling always a little out there and a bit different, it gave me a little bit of, well, I've always been that way, so this is just the next thing to come out with, you know what I mean?
I'm so glad you brought that, because in the conversation I was having today, which sparked one of my questions, she actually said to me, I'm she's not going to mind me saying, she actually said to me, I know I need to come out of the closet a little bit more with my spirituality. And she goes, now I think I know how it feels for gay people to, and I've often seen that as a correlation. So you had one.
I think because I think it is, joking aside, I think it is kind of really as deeply intrinsic. It's like your sexuality is so intrinsic to you. Your spirituality is so intrinsic to you. You do not want to be rejected if you show up with your heart, you know, with your heart's work. So I feel like it is a bit edgy. So I feel like find yourself a safe ground to practice with. And don't wait to be good enough. And don't wait for it to be perfect. Or, you know, you can, you know, I wasn't able to translate it all at the beginning. I just did it and then just see what happens. I wasn't able to bring through information in English at the beginning. It all kind of evolved as I practiced in session or in group work. So it kind of, you learn through the experience and you grow as a channel through the experience of doing it. So, you know, take your time to sort of build safety and ground, a bit of a containers for your work, and just let yourself move into it gently. Gather people that will respect you around you. I always find if you're in a soul alignment, you know, I'm sure you find it too, Alisha, that, you know, that you get the people you need as clients, as people that come to my groups. I've hardly ever had any trouble or drama in my groups. I find that the right people find the groups and they benefit from it. And it's just really sweet and very heart affirming. So I think if you just, but it's about that journey of trusting yourself. And I feel with light language channels particularly, it's about the throat and the voice. So you can also do some work around that area as well to help with the fear of speaking it, you know. Yeah.
I think that's a really big one. You're now making me evaluate of
Oh.
so thank you for that. Like
Oh.
for me,
But you know, can I just say one last little thing?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just want to say in regards to light language as a topic, it's a deeply personal experience. Yeah, I think some people's soul contract is to be out there, been seen doing it and helping many people in group or one-on-ones, and then other people, their light language is simply for them.
Yeah.
And it is for them at the beach channeling for the earth. It is for them in their private home, in their private practice, opening their soul through sound. And I think to respect, you know, there's part of me that loves the attention of being the group facilitator. So I will do that, you know. So, you know, so I've got the Leo moon. So, you know, I like to be up front a little bit. So, you know, if that's your gig, go for that. But if you feel like you're much more, it's a private experience of a real soul alignment to bring your light language through. Trust that and keep it very personal, you know.
I love it. I'm glad that you've touched on some incredibly valid and important points that it's almost like I'm hearing you say things that I would say. I'm like, I love this. But yeah, I know a lot of people who speak light language, and for them, for a lot of them, it is for nature, for the trees, for the ocean. You know, it's a deeply personal experience that they don't intend to use as a practice in service for humans. I mean, they are in service, of course.
Yes. I think, yeah, I feel like it is a very much a personal contract, yeah, of what you're here to do. And you'll know that. Whether it's in service to humans, or whether it's in service to humanity through nature and giving codes to the earth and the oceans and the trees and stuff. I feel both are equally valid and both are deeply important at this time. Yeah.
Oh, so many things going through my head, but I am curious about the whole science component of your, I'll call it your past life in this life, because it probably feels like that. But your previous vocation, and what you do now and the transition. And I'm so glad that you share. I love the people's story to see sort of how they go from one space to the next. I have a very dear soul sister of mine who is probably, in my humble opinion, one of the talented light language. I want to call it linguistic. Anyway, she's one of the most talented light language people that I know. She speaks.
You're not going to tell me the name.
She knows. I'm not going to say her name. I've done videos with her talking about light language, so some people know who I'm talking about. But she's currently taking a bit of time off at the moment.
Cool.
But what I find really fascinating is she has a very scientific component to her as well, and a lot of the stuff that comes through is around medical. So just as you've been talking, I've been listening to you, and also the sound is very similar. So I was like, it's interesting.
Oh, okay. So like what came in as you spoke around that particularly is that I feel like some of us, and I think this is just what I get about I don't know if you talk personally right now, but the two of us in particular, I feel worked in with Thoth. Yeah. So we worked with Thoth in Egypt, in Atlantis, and in the mystery schools before, you know, every timeline has distortion and disruption, but there's also a purity and at times as well. So there was lots of wisdom and lots of work done around the body. Yeah, around the ascension and the rebirthing of the body by, well, if you want to look at the emerald green tablets as a sort of like overview.
synchronicities of the things you're saying and the conversations I've had today. Just like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Keep
so
going.
okay. So then I feel like many of us work with Thoth, yeah. And he collected light language channels is what I'm hearing, because he knew the power of sound and he knew the power of the transformation of frequency. So many of us were like priests, priestesses, which would be the modern day scientists this time. So we've done science in a very metaphysical way in many other lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was kind of, I think that's what some of us have been guided through this life, because if things are to transition into in the earth, and that there is a meeting of spirituality and science in the 3D context this lifetime, then there has to be, well, there doesn't have to be, but it's useful that there's people that have straddled both polarities, because then those that are not really at this point, we would say, interested in that kind of work, may be more open to those that have had different experiences that they can align to more easily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of, but in a nutshell, I feel like it's past life stuff, that we've been scientists in other lives in different forms. Yeah.
That makes so much sense to me right now. You've got no idea.
Okay.
Not to me, but just as you're
I'm
speaking,
gonna
I
say,
can see.
oh,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so.
yes.
Oh, sorry.
So then, no. I was just gonna say. So I feel like that's, so many of us. There's a lot of talk right now that a lot of the Atlantis stuff is re-emerging in the process of the current narratives of the day, and that a lot of about a month ago, which it would have been about a month ago now, before the full moon, first Aquarian full moon. I did an event. I got guided to do an event, the 12 Crystal Skulls of Atlantis channeling, and it was around. I got guided because I've just moved from Sydney, New South Wales, up to Sunshine Coast, Queensland, about middle of May, and guided up here particularly for the land here, and also less physical density, so easier to channel kind of business. But so what I got around the 12 Skulls of Atlantis and around this time is that there's been some of them have been hidden to view from now. Yeah, some of the 12 skulls have been hidden from view, but there is an unearthing. People talk about unearthing, disclosure, things coming to the surface. Part of this is the earth revealing her jewels. Yeah. Part of this is the earth revealing her jewels. And so I did this activation with a group around the 6 hidden skulls. Yeah. And these 6 hidden skulls were in different geographical locations in the earth. And we were priming them to be received by the local indigenous. Yeah. So that know and are waiting for them. Yeah. So it's sort of like, I feel like as we are in this time of ascension, of acceleration, and so the gifts from other timelines are being unearthed to support us. So many of us that have had experience in Atlantis, maybe with Thoth, are now reconnecting with some of that energy, so that we can recall and reclaim some of our soul, and power up without the trauma. I keep getting, it's really time to let go of the fear of our power, of who we are, and to really embrace the I guess, who we are in a multidimensional way. So but I still feel like we're in this very deep, deep clearing, deep clearing of a lot of old stuff, so that more can be integrated internally. Yeah, does that kind of answer?
Oh, yes, you have touched on so many points. See, now I know what to do when I'm in this switched off zone and I'm only getting fragments for
Oh.
myself. I just need to pick up the phone and call you. You're gonna like connect all the dots for me, and I'm gonna go, I know what's going on now. The world makes sense again.
Oh.
So, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And I know that that's something that it's sort of been a journey of yours and it's something that you're passionate about, but grounding into the physical body for star seeds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I know I struggle with that most of my life. And being that I feel that we're at, especially this year, it's so much focus on the physicality and the integration and what the body, the weird and wonderful things that the body are doing through this ascension process. But I'd love you to talk more about star seeds and the importance of ground.
Okay. Sure. So, so my journey, like I spoke about before, I was very ungrounded. I did a good 10 years of personal therapy, really to work through some of my relational trauma, attachment stuff, and also to really ground. It was a lot of body work in that too. I still do my own personal work. I think if you're working with people, you have to keep doing your personal work, whether it's at a mind level or whether it's at a physical, energetic level, or a combination, whatever floats your boat. But I do feel with the acceleration of the Schumann, and I know you know so much more about that than I do.
Oh, I don't really know a lot. Yeah.
Acceleration of the Schumann energy, and also the galactic light that's coming through, which is also, I feel like since the beginning of 2020 has just been pumping and pounding ever faster and more insistent. So it's it is, and also a lot of, because there's so much fear been whooped up at the moment, there's kind of a real invitation to disembody, to leave the body and distract. So I do a lot of keeping myself physically in the body. So I'll do Pilates for core strength. I'll do hands-on body work, somatic body work. I think for people that are really prone to kind of leaving, somatic body work is really profound, because the person's trained at a physical level to be really present in their touch. And that invites deep presence at a physical body level. So if you work with a somatic person, if you've got that available to you where you're located, that will help bring you into your body more. And that will also help process trauma if necessary. If you're kind of not there for, most of us are not there for a reason, it's because it wasn't safe or whatever. So coming back in has to be a slow process. Yes, coming back into the body, if you're not quite there, needs to be a gentle and honoring process, because stuff will come up as you re-enter and reground and regroup. So let yourself have patience and let yourself do it gently with somebody that you feel really safe and trusting with and have a bit of a relationship with. Hands-on work, of course, somatic, or Reiki, if that's your boat, or kahuna, flowing energy work, that's also useful. You can do it through hypnosis. You can work with your timeline trauma through hypnosis. That's not so much about the body, but anything that brings you energetically in and down. So it's about, at the end of the day, it's about really feeling welcome. Like I think a lot of us starseed types, you could go psychological work with it in a psychological context of family of origin stuff, not feeling like you fit it in, feeling different, all that stuff. And that's a really way, and that works for some people. yeah, to do that personal work. Then also you can do it in a way where you've been here many times as a galactic, always felt different, frequency is different, many lifetimes of different, of feeling separate, like you'd been left behind from your tribe. So it's integrating those experiences and deciding right in this moment, in this life, I'm going to decide I want to be on Earth. It's like a decision. It's like, you got to decide. You got to decide, I want to be here. Go out to nature. If it feels safer to be in the presence of nature than it does to be with a human, go to nature, go to a tree, go to the ocean, and find reasons to be here and love it, And in that, you will feel more at home and feel more embodied. And these light codes need us to be embodied because they're so fast, they're so boom, 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 that we really need the physicality on board to hold them. And especially, if systems are on the way out, if disclosures are coming, then of whatever type they may be, then we've been called to
disclosures.
Then we've been invited, the 144, these Atlantean old souls, Lemurian old souls, Larian old souls, combination souls, are been invited to really strengthen our pillars so that we can hold the grids as the majority of the collective wobble. Yeah. So, and that's our gig right now, is what I feel. And we can do that in service work like we do, group work, client work, or we can do it by simply being that conduit and going to the supermarket, going to the shop, going to the beach, and just being that anchor for the energies coming through. So I think it's really important. The embodiment piece is super important right now because there's so much frequency coming in that it can be really disorientating, Yeah.
Yeah. Massively.
Yeah. So
that really brought up a bit of emotion there, around, I don't know, it's sort of playing in my mind around how much loneliness and sadness and isolation is happening in this, well, I was going to say in this country, but it's a global thing.
Yeah.
And I think what you said, I'm just going to go back to one thing that you said, because I think starseed or not, I think that you had a really great way of sharing it for people right now, wherever they're at, whatever their journey is, if that, finding a reason for being on this planet right now and feeling comfortable in that, like doing whatever it takes, finding your own little peaceful place. And yeah, I think that's important.
And I think part of the divine plan of this scenario is that unfortunately we are feeling the depths of our past, to clear them in this sort of unusual locked down situation. Yeah. So that means that we've been faced maybe with places that are ready now to be felt and healed, So I think a lot of deep stuff around loneliness, grief, and past, whether it's this life or other, is really coming up now for folks, especially this year more than last. Last year was a bit of a novelty. This year, people are getting tired now.
It's wearing a lot more. You can feel that.
So I feel like even if you cannot get hands-on work where you are in the world, even if it's not doable right now, I think, I still I think even over this medium, such as the online world, go and do your group work. Like I do groups, you do groups by the sound of it. And go and find a group of like minds and connect with their energy online, and so you don't feel so alone, and so you don't feel so separate and um, in your own bubble, because I think it's always nice to know that there's folks going through the same thing, you know. Yeah.
I agree. You know,
Yeah.
so incredibly grateful for the internet, for the work that we do to be able to reach and find, because we are vastly spread out, you know, we really are.
Yeah.
So,
It is a bit of a that part of the internet's really useful and important right now, I feel, you know.
yeah. And for the disclosures too. I love that. I'm going to use it as plural now.
Yeah, of course, that too. Yeah.
My goodness. Well, Michael, it's been such a pleasure to sit down and finally get to chat with you. Like, I have absolutely, this has taken me by surprise. I've loved every moment, but been there's been some real key important components for me. And I didn't, you know, I don't expect that when I sit down and do these conversations. But I'd love to have you come back and have more conversations and share more. I think by the sounds of it, we have very similar ideals and the work that is very similar. So I've kind of been, I summoned you. I used that word the other day because I'm trying to get some astrologer. I've got an astrologer lined up, I hope. And I've been summoning him for a while. And now sitting here talking to you, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I have wanted to sit down with a male practitioner and talk shop, so to speak, for such a long time. And
Wow.
voila, here
I
you
feel
are.
like I really that's so cool. And it was interesting because we were talking about before around the balance of the masculine and feminine. I really feel like it's not that, you know, I think it's also that the masculine channels need to step up now as well, you know. So I would love to have more conversation with you
Yay.
when you feel
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. It'd be absolutely amazing. So what I will do is put in the description box below details of where you can connect with Michael and follow him and, you know, potentially book in a session if you feel called to do so. As a side note, I do have a transmission coming up on Saturday. I looked at my calendar and realized it's 3 days away. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's my 814 rebirth and fertility transmission. So looking forward to that. I'll put the link in the description box below if you want to join up for that. And I think you mentioned that you've got something coming up
I
on
haven't I
the
haven't
full moon. Oh,
yeah, I
the
haven't
works.
put it out yet. If people just follow me on Facebook, just my name, Michael Muir,
Yeah.
or Soul Magic Collective, the group, on Facebook, you'll see me post events and stuff, or just keep an eye on my website. I am going to do a 1 hour transmission on the 22nd of August. It will be, it will, which feels like a mammoth away because everyone's so on. But yeah, the 22nd, Sunday night is the second Aquarian full moon of the month. Aquarian myself, so I really love doing the Aquarian moons. So please, if you feel like it resonates, it's 1 hour. I keep the fee pretty cheap, so you can just check my Facebook and.
I'm going to join that one. I have.
Oh, bless
Yeah.
you. So yeah, so 6 p.m. on the 22nd online. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Michael. And thank you everyone for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed and got something out of this conversation, and we'll certainly have you back again soon. So much love to you and everyone wherever you are, and we'll connect with you soon. Bye.
Thank you.